Hey everyone, welcome. My name is Amber Gonzalez and I am so glad you guys are here. So God has had me on this journey of teaching me more about investing. And while it could be a little bit overwhelming at times, I am super excited to see what I'm learning. There are areas that God has me stepping into that I never saw myself stepping into, for reasons being because I just always felt like it was just way in over my head. I didn't understand the language. I don't know about these areas. And so I never really even had an interest because of that. But while it's intimidating, it's exciting because I really cannot wait to see what God is going to do. But with that being said, this is titled, "To Steward Is To Invest." I feel that what I'm about to share with you is very important and very key. And that if you implement all that I'm about to share with you, it will literally change the way you live your life, because we're about to bring history back into our very present lives. Here's what I mean. There is a man by the name of Greg McKeown, and he stated that the word priority came into the English language in the 1400s. And it was singular, and it meant the very first or prior thing. Well, in the 1900s, we pluralized the term, changing it from priority to priorities. And Greg went on to state that this gave the impression of many multiple things being priority, but in actuality, nothing was. This now allows us to have multiple first things. Like, can you imagine how many years we have been living under the term priorities? Not even years, decades and centuries. We have been living under this term priorities, where everything is important. Everything is a priority. And here we are trying to balance our lives out. It's chaotic. Well, the question now comes to, how do we go from living a life of priorities to living a life of priority? Because it's not like you could just put your 100% attention on one area and forget the rest. No. Because all those other areas are important, right? We would agree with that. So, in her book, Embrace Your Almost, written by Jordan Lee Dooley, I highly recommend that you read this book for anyone who may be in that in-between stage, where maybe you feel like you've come a long way, but you know you're not where you should be. This is for you. I highly recommend that. But in her book, she states all that I just shared with you. She quotes Greg McKeown. But what I love about her is she takes it a step further and actually shows us and tells us what to do to get our lives back to living under the word priority. Now, before I go into sharing all that she shares, I do want to add that all that I list, there is nothing that replaces God. There is nothing that takes his place. He is and should be the main priority. Okay, the center of our lives. It's not us taking God and fitting him in when and where we can. It doesn't work that way. He is to be the center of our lives. We work around him, not the other way around. So with that being said, nothing replaces God. But what Jordan goes on to say is what we need to do is to write out and look at all that's on our plate. Literally, make a list. And I really highly encourage you to do that, because it does something when you actually see it written down on paper. Make a list of all your responsibilities, of everything that's on your plate. And then what you want to do is identify what is your present priority. That's what she calls it, your present priority. And what that means is the season that you are in right now. What is your present priority? Because you got to know that as your seasons in life change, your priority will change. So just take a look at where you're at right now and pick a priority. So for example, if maybe there's something that's been lacking in your life, but you know you need to pay attention to. Maybe there's something that's been on the back burner that you need to bring to the front. Maybe there's something that's causing strife and fights all the time, or literally something screaming at you like, pay attention to me, whether it's subtle or loud. Hone in on what is your present priority. So for instance, maybe it's your health. Maybe it's your marriage. Okay. Make your marriage your top priority. Make it your present priority. And all your other important responsibilities are to fall into alignment with your present priority to support it. Okay? Then what you want to do, she says, is to take a full audit of your life and identify any unnecessary stressors or any issues that need to be addressed. Because what this will ensure will take place is all your responsibilities will come into alignment and support the main priority, the present priority, and it will work together in unity rather than against each other, and you feeling like you're being pulled in 50 million different directions. Okay? So when you identify those unnecessary stressors, try to minimize them. If you see that it's just not working out, then remove it altogether, because then it's just a distraction. And it doesn't mean that in another season, what you remove won't come back. But for right now, it's okay to say no. It's okay to say no, that maybe things you've added onto your plate that weren't necessary, or other people have added on you that aren't necessary. It's okay. If it doesn't fit into alignment to support your marriage or your present priority, then just remove it. It's a distraction. Now, how my husband and I found our present priority was actually by a result. Let me explain. We had something else in place. We had our present priority in place. But then I saw the result of another area of our life. And I went to my husband and I was like, babe, I saw this. It was huge. It was a big deal. And my husband quickly said, well, then that needs to be our priority. And so we changed it. So maybe by me even sharing that story, maybe something triggered in you. Maybe you've been seeing the result of something already, and you're going to hone in on that and claim it as your present priority. So just do it. Because to steward is to invest. And we are to be good stewards of what God has given us. And if we steward, we will multiply. I took it a step further. And that list of responsibilities that I have, next to each one of those areas, I wrote out what I was going to do to invest in those different areas. So for instance, as a wife, what am I going to do to invest in my marriage? What am I going to do to invest in my husband? As a mom, how am I going to invest in my children? As a daughter of God, what am I going to do to invest in my relationship with the Lord? Other relationships, our finances, all these different areas. What am I going to do to invest? Because I want to be a good steward of what God has given me. And I want you to be your best and to do your best and to be a good steward of what God has given you. So I encourage you, take all that's been here and apply it to your life. Because there's something about being intentional. If we are not living intentional lives, then what we don't face now, we will have to face later in the future. And it will be a lot more worse. It will be more challenging. Not impossible, but it will be more difficult then than as if you were to just start today and start facing those things now and being intentional now. Do the hard work now so that it doesn't catch up to you later. And start today, because there is no time like the present time. Take care.